Let's think about communication as having three parts. The first part is attitudes, the second part is words, and the third part actually is actions. Because you've probably heard this since you were very small, that actions can speak louder than words. So let's include actions as part of the three segments of healthy communication. Today, we're going to be talking about the attitudes, the internal attitudes that help us to be people who communicate better with our spouses in our marriage. And here are these attitudes. I'll give them to you all to look at, and then I'm just going to say one or two things about each of them. We're going to use these following an ABC model. So here they are. The first is to accept one another. The second, believe the best. The third, concentrate on understanding. The fourth, discard prejudice. The fifth, encourage openness. The sixth, forgive impulsive words. The seventh, grant grace. And the eighth, humble yourself. Now let's see what those mean. To accept the other person in your marriage means that you don't push them away, reject them, or turn away from them. You turn towards them. You recognize that although you're having a problem, this person that you married is still someone that you want to be in the relationship with. And you don't act or speak in ways that express rejection of that person. If each of you know that you're still accepted and that you're just working through a problem together, you're going to make much better progress. The second is believe the best. The reason for that is because we can easily believe the worst. When we're in an argument or a conflict of some kind in our relationship, it's easy to think that our partner doesn't really want the best thing to happen. But the truth is that sometimes we're just awkward. We don't know how to find the answer. Even though we struggle, we may say words we don't want to say, but in our hearts, we really do want a good outcome for our marriage. So unless you have a reason to not do so, believe that your husband or wife really is after a good result in your relationship. The third is to concentrate on understanding. And the way we do that is by letting our husband or wife know that what they think and what they're feeling is important to us. We may not be able to understand it. It may be something that's beyond our ability to understand. But at least we could say, I don't know if I understand it or not, but I want to understand, and I want to support you while you're trying to sort this out. So concentrate on understanding. And then the fourth is to discard prejudice. Prejudice means not racial prejudice like we often speak about these days, but this kind of prejudice means that you have already made up your mind and you're not willing to be convinced that another way could be just as good or maybe even better. So to get rid of that, you have to recognize that your husband or wife may have an improving solution that would help everything in your marriage. So discard your prejudice. The E stands for encouraging openness, and you do that by letting your husband or wife know that they can be trusted, that you can be trusted with the things that they tell you. And you can do it also by asking questions that your husband or wife can answer in some way that helps them to express what's in their heart. And then the sixth one is to forgive impulsive words. Here's why I put this in. Because when we're mad at each other, we sometimes say words that are very hurtful, but we didn't really mean them. So when that happens between you or your husband and wife, be sure to immediately forgive those impulsive words. You can even stop the conversation for a moment and say, wait a minute, that's not the kind of thing we want to say to each other. It's also good to have a list in your mind of words that you will not say to each other when you're angry, like, I hate you, I wish I'd never married you, you should have married somebody else, why don't we just get a divorce, this isn't working out. All of those are kinds of words that express more hopelessness than you really need to express when you're trying to find a solution to make your marriage better. So forgive those impulsive words. The seventh one is to grant grace. And this simply means that every person on the earth has their problems, including you, including me, all of us do. And every person on the earth needs mercy and understanding and patience from the other people in our lives. Dallas Willard said that he could not have survived or made it to adulthood if his mother, his father, his sisters, and his brothers had not been gracious and merciful to him. And the last one is to humble yourself. Humbling yourself doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means that you become a reasonable person. Because if you don't humble yourself, then you will find yourself in a condition of pride. And when you're proud, you don't grant grace. And when you're proud, you don't forgive impulsive words. And when you're proud, you don't encourage openness. And when you're proud, you don't discard your prejudices. You hold on to it. You're solidified in your position. When you're proud, you don't concentrate on understanding. You just try to bulldoze your way through it and get your own way. When you're proud, it's easier for you to not believe the best of your husband or wife. And when you're proud, in the way that I'm talking about in this talk, it's easy for you to reject the other person and then just let them pay the price for it. So have a look at these 8. See what you could do to make these 8 attitudes a part of your heart and mind so that when you do have a conflict, you can get through it in a much more peaceful way. This is Mike Constantine, and this is 4 Minutes to a Better Marriage. You can find an article on communication, the ABCs of healthy communication that I've just talked about by going to the website that you see on this screen. You can either use the QR code or the URL to take you there. Thanks again for listening to 4 Minutes to a Better Marriage.